I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. We are working with the Perelman Performing Arts Center, a reimagined production of Cats called Cats the Jellicle Ball, to bring you a series of episodes throughout their run. I am honored to have Robert Silk Mason here with me today. Silk is an incredible dancer, performer, artist, and now magician. They are the founding mother of the Kiki Royal House of Silk and played the magical Mr. Mistoffelees in this production. So welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I love that you did some actual magic, some real magic on the show. So we'll get into that and we'll get into your Mistoffelees. But I want to start at the beginning of, before you booked this, how familiar were you with Cats at all? Did you know much about it?
I knew like little tidbits and pieces. And then once this came about, I was like, okay, I have to actually watch the production. I was like, I'm not going to be able to see it in person, but I was like literally scavenging, trying to find out where to find it. And then on Amazon Prime, that's where I ended up watching it. And then before the auditions, there weren't like, it wasn't anything to where it was like auditioning for a specific role. It was just like, it's the audition. So when I was like, I don't know what's going to happen or if I'll even get anything, but I was like, I have to know what Cats is about. So that's whenever that came about and I watched it.
And which movie was it? Was it the newer one or the 1998
Yeah,
one?
it was the 1983, I think.
Okay. So it was a stage performance that was filmed, right? Not the crazy one that made headlines in 2019.
No.
Okay.
No.
So you saw cats. Cats. Okay.
I have never seen the movie.
Okay.
And I refuse.
Maybe you can miss. You're not missing much.
I'm from the previews, what I saw from the movie, I was like, I don't know if I want to see that because it looks a little creepy. And then after I heard it was creepy and weird and stuff like that, and props to all the celebrities that were on it, but I was like, I don't know, and still to this day I haven't watched it. But At some point, I have an interest in watching it now since we're doing Cats the Jellicle Ball, because I'm just like, I want to see where everybody's interpretation is coming from. So it's like, you got to have an open mind sometimes.
Yeah, as a dancer, you probably will catch a lot more. Like, I know you were trained at Juilliard and ballet, because you saw the one that you watched was Julian Lynn. And the movie is Andy Blankenbuehler. So you've got these like slightly contrasting in different styles, but still very similar because it's still at the end of the day Cats. But the new movie is very different. So we're gonna skip through that. But
I'm gonna have to dive into it at some point.
Yeah, at some point you'll watch it, but it's a different experience because it's definitely not the same, and they made some choices for sure. But I want to hear about then. So you get this role. You've watched this, the movie on Amazon Prime. But you have this ballroom background now. You have your house, you're founding mother of the house. And you how was the process of here's this traditional, classical, well-known musical, but this reimagining, what was that rehearsal process like for you, bringing these two worlds together?
Well, one, I would say for the original version of Cats, I, understood it because it was like, it's literally cats. Like they're feline, fearless, faithful, and true. It's like they are able to always express themselves and be themselves for who they are and step up to the forefront and just, be, I would say, rubbish. And, the cats tear things apart. I have 2 cats now, so I know how they work really well. But as far as ballroom, you have the categories. Everything is, I don't know if I could say this, but, soft pussy tuna cunt, all that stuff. So it's like we're always, attacking also the movements within the movements. Everything is either feline or the hands are very motion. The motion is very fluid. You're making sure I'll say, like a cat scratches himself, you're scratching yourself, or you're licking your hand or something like that. Those are things and movements and gestures that we do in ballroom. And once we figured out how to marry that in rehearsals, it all just honestly made sense from whenever Arthur and Omari, whenever they did the first move. It was like, that's very, very cat-like, because cats are also very regal, Egyptian, We're here to show ourselves and make sure that everybody understands who we are.
Yeah, the dancing it's such an interesting piece, because as someone who doesn't know any dancing, ballroom or theater or anything in between, it was, when I saw it, I was like, this fits perfectly. Like the ballroom it's a catwalk, like it's a runway, like it works so well to marry these two worlds together. And I thought it was like a very, very fun way to experience that and almost eliminate the biggest kind of like the joke that gets made about cats so much as it feels, because they're in cat, like they're in a unitard and with the hair and the tail and everything. By
and the fact that we aren't.
Yeah, and you're not. And so by eliminating that, it becomes more about the story and the personalities and the competition, which is what I love most about the show to begin with.
And then also the backstories of like who every individual cat is. Like that's kind of how we live through our lives in ballroom too. Like even though we're here presenting ourselves in front of everybody, voguing, kikiing, kakai with our girlfriends and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, we all have a life to go back to after this ball, or something that we probably prepared hours for, or months for, and days and weeks ahead of time to come and walk this ball, to either get through or to get chopped, or something happened. And it's like, oh my God, like all of that adrenaline and all that rush is what we love the most. And then that's what drives us to continue to, be ourselves and, be free. Because what better way to be yourself?
Yeah.
And going into that too, like all of us have also talked about how our characters are us, are who we are in life. So like me, Mistoffelees, brings Old Deuteronomy back in the story, and that's how the storyline goes. And he reunites the community and bring everybody together. And that, I take that from me. It's me with my kids in my house and understanding what I built my house for, and bringing the community and making sure that ballroom also, along with, all the other facets of who I am, ballroom is also what helped me throughout my life. And it could also help you in your real life. And opening up my arms to all of these kids and people that want to be a part of it has been such a special time for me. So for me to know how Mistoffelees is and how my life is, and how that also marries together, from my dancing to ballroom to my modeling and singing, even like I've never sung like this before in any production. I've never been a part of a production before. This is my first equity contract. It's like a dream come true. And of course, I'm basking in the ambience and enjoying it, but I also I've always wanted people to be a part of my life, but this is a big step forward, building my house.
Yeah. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into one of those points that you mentioned, which is the story development, because I love the character development. So for you all, how much like backstory did you go into each, like you said, each character kind of is their own personality and their own person. Did you talk about it? And we'll get into the one in particular, which is your relationship with Tugger. But in general, how much of the story was brought into the different characters with a slightly different interpretation? Because you are in houses, you are in these competitions, but there's still these like very deep cats backstories that have been developed over 45 plus years.
Yeah. I'll say for me, I'll start with Tempress. Because Tempress starts out, she's a femme queen. She's out in ballroom doing her thing. She's been known for who she is and, what she does, and tying it with Grisabella, who is the outcast of cats of the story, and how she comes in, she's like, this is me and this is who I am. And I'm going to always make you remember that. And once Old Deuteronomy, that's his thing. It's like it all makes sense. I don't want to say too much, because everybody. I don't want to. Everybody has to come and see it. But whenever he does his magic at the end, it really just ties everything in, because once you see who and learn who Grisabella is throughout the play, you end up wanting to know more. And then whenever she sings Memory, and it's like, I'm going out onto the ballroom floor, and I'm just itching to get to that point of where I used to be, like, the memory of being on the ballroom floor and going to the fabric store or sewing your own clothes or going to your good girlfriend or your gay mother or your gay father's house and be like, this is the ball that I want to walk and this is, what I want to do. And watching her walk out onto that stage and be like, this is the memory that I want. But it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And then when Syllabub comes up and reminds her and then she sings the rest of Memory, I would say it's one of the most emotional points of the show for me. I'm about to get emotional now just thinking about it, because just thinking about how femme queens and trans women are also treated in society with that notion too, and I'm bringing that into Cats. It just really shows in like how, and that's how you address a cat. You have to learn and get to understand who these cats are. And then with Old Deuteronomy, who is Andre de Shields, being the, the eldest, the regal, the deity of Broadway, first of all.
Yeah.
Him as Old Deuteronomy was the smartest decision I feel like any production could have made, because especially for Cats, I'll say he is one of the most amazing men that I've ever met in my life. He's very nourishing, very kind. He makes sure that, you're all right, but also he gets his stuff done. And being able to be a young adult and see everything that he has also been through and that he's done with The Wiz and all the other productions that he's been in, and know that I'm also standing right here in the same production as him. Just watching him sing. It's like whenever he first, because like in rehearsal, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to hear him sing. And then whenever he makes his entrance and then he sang, everybody in the room cried.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing production. Just like this experience is so enriching. Like the fruits that we have been receiving from this has been amazing.
Yeah. And the reviews have been incredible. And as someone who knows way too much about Cats, I walked in and was floored by how amazing it was that you all kept the essence of Cats, but brought this new version. Like it's still like, you still get the music, you still get the story, you still get the poetry. But I love as someone who has spent way too many episodes arguing against Grisabella, I thought the Grisabella arc was really, really fascinating by bringing the, I don't want to spoil too much, but bringing the dress out and having like the story of her house and being able to come back on stage is a much clearer picture than even the musical does. And, you get even Junior as Gus, and you felt that like same kind of energy and power, and everyone's just cast so well, and everyone brings such an energy to the show that you walk out, that I walked in with the highest of high expectations, and I walked out with I couldn't fall asleep that night. Like I just had so much energy from being there and everything you all brought. And I was, front and center, like we were at the tables. And so, we're dancing like right in front of us the whole time, which was so fun. But
I would say we have to mention with Junior being on Paris is Burning, he was the original, he's the OG, you know, of ballroom, like the deity of ballroom. And I would say Gus Junior LaBeija is the most iconic elder that I've ever met in my life. He really is articulate with the things that he does and has been very open with this process to understand what Broadway and musical theater is. And I know like everybody has their own, relationships and times with how they, cope with this process. But I have really, 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 really been grateful to watch his process with this, because like with everybody, we all were like, okay, what is this going to be? What is this going to be? And then as soon as he started his part and his role, he became Gus. He is Gus.
Yeah.
Like he's literally Gus. And, to also be in a room with him has been such a delight.
Yeah. He is the essence of Gus, right? He's exactly what you think of when you think about it. And I loved him, but I also was like, he's not ready to go. And he's the most common choice that's not Grisabella. because I was like, you can't send him to the heaviside layer. He's still living his life way too much to be ready to go.
Yeah. He's like, because listen, he could do it again.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. So we've got to talk about the Tugger Mistoffelees relationship. Because you all leaned in.
Sidney James Hardcore, love him.
He
so
is,
much.
Yeah, and then we're doing an episode with him too, so I'm excited to hear his. We're going to get his interpretation of this other half as well. So just to give you some backstory from my experience with this was one of the first things I learned about this relationship. And one of my first episodes I ever did, I dug into it because it's most of the fan fiction, it's most of the pictures drawn, it's most of the art is that combination. There is a deep belief that there's some more relationship there. And you all lean into that more than I was expecting.
As you talk, I'm gonna find these photos that I found online on Pinterest of Rum Tum Tugger and Mistoffelees like together in a relationship. When I was like, oh, okay, it's a thing. This is a thing.
It's a full thing.
Okay, this is so fab.
And you all lean into it. So did you discuss that relationship? Because like you all kind of played into it more than I think the musical version does. Even the musical version has some pieces to it, but you all really like lean into it.
I'll say we didn't dive too much into it in the beginning because they really wanted us to focus on, learning our parts in the roles and stuff like that. They were telling us like, in this, we want to create a world where Rum Tum Tugger is very, on his toes and on his feet and fascinated about Mistoffelees, how he sings about him in the song and he's, his manner is vague and aloof. You could think there's nobody shyer because his name has been heard on the roof. It's like if you're in a relationship with somebody and it's like, so who is this? And it's like, oh, this is my boyfriend. Like, this is who he is. It's like, he's literally telling you about who his partner is. Mm-hmm. So like, they wanted to create the world around that. But the surprise didn't come until later on. So,
okay.
So, it was like, it was not interesting, but I was all for it because I was like, the story, I've been hearing so much about it. And also Sydney is the most handsome man I've ever met in my life. So I was like, of course.
We're not going to spoil the surprise, but I did send a message to one listener after this, like after I saw it being like, you're going to like the Tugger Mistoffelees, like just wait. They're coming to see the show in a couple weeks. I was like, you're going to love it. They're going to be very excited to see that.
Yes.
So one of the other things I wanted to ask you about was the dance in particular, because for Mistoffelees, there's the very well-known turns, mm-hmm. but then there's also, this isn't, Joey and Lynn's choreography. This is a mix of ballroom choreography. And you do some splits and stuff with your body. I still can't fathom how you physically are able to do that. But can you talk a little bit about
up and down and back up?
Yeah, as someone who was trained at Juilliard, like as a trained dancer, like the going into this, like how much did you particularly work on your numbers, knowing that there's this element that a lot of people expect from the Mistoffelees number? Was that brought in? Because I know I saw you weave it in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. So whenever we first started, I don't think we really got to Mistoffelees until the third workshop. And then, because I didn't do the second workshop that they had, was something different. And then, the third workshop, we delved into it. And I was understanding how everything went because they were like, Mistoffelees walks runway and, in the category. And how, for me, whenever I'm battling, I like to do a lot of antics. I do a lot of turns and things like that. So they're like, we want to bring that in. And then also, I do contemporary, some jazz and stuff like that a little bit. And then we also put in some J setting and majorette. I did majorette for 2 years when I was in South Carolina. Shout out to the Elite Forces of Destruction. Hey, girls. But I did majorette with them for 2 years when I was in South Carolina. But figuring out how to mesh them with the, enormous amount of turns that Mistoffelees does in the regular production. And he's, spreading out his magical flair throughout the audience and on the floor. For me, like, I wanted to bring, of course, myself into it because my quirkiness within Mistoffelees' pizzazz, it has allowed me to really command the space in the area so that the notion of the original Mistoffelees still stays within the ballroom Mistoffelees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was, I thought, was such a cool part of that was you saw elements of it, but then I also saw we got your experience and your take on it, which is really unique.
There's a clip of me on OTA where it's actually the night that I won. I think it's in November. And I was processing the girls that night. I was not playing. I was like, I am over it. Also, there was a lot going on at that time. So I was like, I need to. But also for ballroom, like, it is a very big opportunity to just let off steam. Like, just get creative and come out and just, like, command the space in the floor. But there's this one clip of me walking against someone, and I walk up, and I'm just tall. I just be working it. I'll be in my own lane, and like I crossed and I stepped and I accidentally bumped into them. I didn't see them coming, and I like look at them, and as I look at them, they like literally disappear from the screen. I was like, yeah. I was like, I be making the girls disappear.
Yeah.
And then I looked at them and I turn around because I always do this thing where, because I'm the tallest girl and, not in the scene, but I'm usually the tallest girl that be walking. And I like turn and I do oh, I didn't see you there. And I turn around and I continue walking. And then I win grand prize.
I love it. So that is a very a good question, because as someone who is experienced in ballroom and comes from the ballroom scene and mixing in with the theater people, a lot of the people that listen to this show know Cats from the theater side. So what is, for someone who's coming to see it, how much ballroom do they need to know? Like what's the stuff that they should understand walking in to really fully embrace the entire production?
I would say the integrity of what ballroom is. Because ballroom isn't just something that you can just come into and do. It's not going to be something that you fully understand, because it's also dramaturgy and terminology that people may not understand. Like femme queen or butch queen or female figure. Like, somebody's going to look and be like, oh, what does that mean? So, which I wish that they provided in the program, which is more dramaturgy on what those different things mean. Like also cunt or that is fabulous or fab, those are like things that they would need to brush up on, but also just the minds of where we also live within the LGBTQ community as also one with being a community. Like, there's a lot of communities that aren't really communities, but we also ballroom is also about family. They need to know that ballroom isn't just like something that, like I said, you can't just come and do. Not necessarily, because you could be a 007 too, but it is also good, which I told people too. I was like, if you're not going to join my house, like, it's also good to also just be connected. Find those connections within ballroom, because somebody in there could either save your life. Somebody in ballroom could also either give you an opportunity, something that, or just amp your life up and give you something that you could have never even imagined. And coming in to see Catch the Jellicle Ball and bringing the aspect of a ball into Cats, I would say look up some things on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Junior LaBeija says in the beginning, if you don't know about ballroom or have ever seen ballroom, Google me.
Yeah.
Google Junior LaBeija, Google Paris is Burning. I think it's still on YouTube. Yeah, I would say that, like, in all of totality, Google Paris is Burning and Junior LaBeija, because it will definitely give you so much information on what ballroom is, the House of Extravaganza, the Royal House of LaBeija, the Royal House of Nino Ricci, what is it, the House of Mugler, Miyake Mugler, all of those houses, make sure that you do your research on houses and what the integrity of what ballroom comes from.
Yeah. And I love that, you mentioned there's obviously the ballroom and the dance, but there's also the family aspect. And that's a huge part of what Cats is too, which is the Jellicles are a tribe and a family. And so it was just such a perfect parallel to bring these worlds together. And the way it turned out is incredible. And I'm glad you're getting all the props y'all deserve for it. So,
it's been such a wonderful time. It's been a very emotional time.
Yeah.
I've been crying. I've been crying. I even be crying during the performance, especially when Grisabella comes out and do her thing. I'll be like,
Let's do the rapid fire. So if you could go on for any other cat, whether, you could sing it, dance it, just if you could go on one night, who would you want to perform as?
I'll say either Syllabub, because I could sing. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, I would eat Syllabub up.
Yeah.
I just love it. And then what else? Who else? I'll say Tumble Brutus, because Tumble Brutus has so many cool aspects and different things that he does in the play.
Yeah, I love that. The Syllabub whole story is fun. Yeah, the whole thing. Who are your favorite and least favorite cats, personality-wise? So, who would you be good friends with, and which one would kind of bug you?
I would say Grisabella. I would be very grateful, good friends with Grisabella, because when I was younger, I was raised by my grandmother and my grandfather, and my aunt and my uncle. It was me, my older brother, and my younger sister. So I've always had elders or just people that I've looked up to in my life, and that has made sure that I'm okay, and that I've also been able to either take care of. I took care of my grandmother before she passed and my grandfather before he passed. And just being able to also just be there for people and family means a lot to me. Mm-hmm. But also the people that have come before me, because we can be stubborn as young kids and things like that. And I've learned a lot in life, and I've definitely had I've told you so. So to be able to understand Grisabella's role and be also in general, I like to be aware of where I am and the older people in the space. I don't even want to say older people, but you know what I mean. Because you have to understand and respect them.
Completely.
You can't, they weren't born yesterday, so don't try it.
Do you have a least favorite? Which one bugs you?
I would say, oh my God, I love McCavity. I feel like we would be good friends, but I'd be like, I'm gonna watch you, girl, because I'm gonna I don't be doing all of that.
Yeah, I don't trust the Cavity.
I don't be doing all of that. So, well, it's not that I don't trust them, because I'd be the one to be like, so if you're gonna do that, just make sure you get me something too. Yeah.
I love it.
Just make sure that I can, bask in the glory. And we all good, but and if you need somebody to help you cover up, I got you.
I love it.
We can have some fun with this.
What's your favorite song in the show?
I'll say Grisabella the Glamour Cat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my fun question is, I've been trying to figure out, what would you name a house if you were Mistoffelees? What would Mistoffelees' house be named?
I wouldn't want it to be it probably wouldn't be the House of Mistoffelees. I don't know.
Okay. Or honestly, is he not leading one?
Honestly, I was about to say, for me, even though I have my own, I don't think Mistoffelees will have his own house.
Okay. So whose house would he be in?
I feel like he would be a very big, leader and supporter of the community. Mm-hmm. Somebody that you could go to and they just have it for you.
Yeah. Okay.
He could be somebody, a lending ear, a shoulder to cry on, somebody that you could keep around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my important question is, I've argued at length that I don't think Grisabella is the right Jellicle choice. So do you want to defend Grisabella, or who would you choose to be your Jellicle choice if you were picking?
I have 3.
Okay.
I would say me, of course, because I bring Old Deuteronomy back. So I think that, I was like, girl, why not? But also, I just think that would just make too much sense. I would say Tumble Brutus because they're just a firehouse in the production. They do so many things that other people can't do, that I've also literally never seen before. So I would say Tumble Brutus and Victoria. I would say because also Victoria is just so beautiful. They're a very big caretaker within the scene of what Catch the Jellicle Ball is. Primo, who is Tumble Brutus, and Baby, who is Victoria. Also in my life, I feel like they have made a big impact on me. So I feel like if it were to be something in real life too, like I feel like they would be the ones to be chosen.
I love it. I love anybody that's not Grisabella chosen. So I like all three of your votes. I have heard people have argued on this podcast for Mistoffelees because of bringing Old Deuteronomy back. So it has there's a couple votes for that exact reason. So I love it. How can people stay in touch with you on social media?
I would say you can find me and friend me on Facebook at Robert Mason, and then you could follow me on Instagram at _Robert Silk Mason _. And also you can also follow my house page at The Royal House of Silk.
We will tag everything as well as how to get tickets to the show and share everything as well. So this has been so fun. Thank you for coming on and sharing your experience.
Thank you for having me.
It was a blast.
Yes, now I gotta stretch and meditate before this next show. I'm excited to see my family and friends and my kids. It's gonna be a great time.
I love it. Yeah, we were recording this right between shows, but before your family is going to be at your production tonight. So so you should be the Jellicle choice tonight because everyone's there rooting for you.
Yes, I'm gonna have a group of people waiting for me.
That is awesome. Well, this has been so fun. So thank you. And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any else listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Wrong Cat Died, or check our website, thewrongcatdied.com.